We have with us today our affiliate KLIF in Dallas, Texas, and the fellow there who has been covering this tragedy, Steve Nicholl. Steve, are you with us?
Indeed.
Thank you for joining us today, and thanks to all of our good friends at KLIF there in Dallas. Steve, what can you tell us this morning as to the situation there at Fort Hood?
Well, it seems that they're calming down finally after what we went through yesterday. The divisions of this story are really fascinating to look at now with a little time and without the moment at hand. What I find most fascinating at this stage of the game is that the level of anger that I'm hearing is much more intense than I would have expected it to be, and arriving much more quickly. There will be a moment of silence today. They'll continue to mourn, but the anger level about how this could have happened, how it could have happened on that particular post in this state. And there is a fairly tense time now because of some other things that have happened in the state that have to do with Islamic terrorism or perceived Islamic terrorism. So it's a tough time.
Well, obviously, that anger is being directed at Hassan. Who else is the object of that anger?
I think that there's a growing base of people who are very uncomfortable with the way it was handled from President Obama's perspective yesterday. If you'll recall, as this was unfolding, we were getting constant bulletins, many of them incorrect, as the media tried to grab a hold of the story in a relatively remote portion of the state. We didn't know exactly what was happening, whether there were 2 shooters or 3 or 1, or how many people had been hurt. And everyone was waiting for that official word to come down. And, of course, when we went to the press conference, we waited 2 minutes to go through a discussion of people that were involved in some sort of workshop. And that now is beginning to bubble back in a way. I just saw a poll that was done on a Dallas radio station or television station that measured people's responses to that, and they're showing 87% of the people who responded to their poll are literally furious about what they saw yesterday afternoon. And I'm not surprised. I was on the air at the time, and we, in fact, pulled him off the air because he wasn't talking about what we thought he should have been talking about.
Well,
and then came back and joined them.
Steve, you have really hit a hot button, not only with the folks in the Dallas area, but the people here in this studio. I've just been talking to my wife, Jerry, here, and our executive producer, Greg Tannum, about this very thing. We have already pulled that segment. I was listening to that yesterday. I could not believe my ears. And, folks, we're going to play that for you in our next segment here so we can do it in its entirety. But what Steve is talking about is the president got up when the whole nation was fixated on this. It was about 2.5 hours, I think, after the first news of this broke. Of course, longer than that between the press conference and the incident itself. And the president was before a group of American Indians, a conference that they were having there, and they'd had their conference, and he proceeded to talk about the conference and do a shout-out to a military hero that was in the audience, or as the president put, around here somewhere, and talk about various things. And, it seemed like forever, but it was a minute and a half before the president got around to, oh, yeah, we've had this tragedy at Fort Hood.
It was very troubling. Very troubling.
What about the fact that this person got on base with weapons?
Well, that's another issue, and as large as the state of Texas is, no matter where you find yourself, you're not far from a military installation. There has been some discussion already about a somewhat, or at least a perceived relaxation of the security at the post in the days or in the years since 9/11. Of course, it was one of the ones that they tightened up strongly back then. I presume that will come out as time goes on. One of the things that that was really fascinating to see this morning was that convenience store video of him yesterday morning before the act was committed, just basically having a generally good old day, and then 6-7 hours later, he's causing this mayhem. How that will play out, I suspect that the Army will do what they did yesterday. The other part of that story that I thought was fascinating yesterday was we saw probably the right thing to do, but then we saw it go the wrong way. They had that base or that post shut down in so many different ways so rapidly that it was unbelievable. We had phone conversations yesterday with 3 different people in 3 different sections of Fort Hood on their cell phones. All of them were locked down in the buildings where they were when the shooting started. All of them were within earshot of other people, and all had been told to not say a word until they were given the all clear. And it was like they literally shut the communication down. About 45 minutes later, in our attempts to recontact all of those people, all of the cell phones either went immediately to voicemail or one ring and then they shut off.
Steve, could you hang on with us?
Sure.
Let us take a break here and come back to you. This is vital, I think.